Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Reconnection space. So you will notice something a little bit different. Normally I'm out and about with looking for wonderful people to interview, but today I've got Niraj and he's here in the therapy room, which is lovely to have visitors here. So as you know, the Reconnection space is where we come to talk all things reconnection with ourselves, reconnection with our relationships in the world around us, reconnection with where we're going, but also sharing those all-important reconnection moments that have shaped your life, where you've made a change or where something's changed for you. And that's what we love to hear in these interviews. So welcome, Niraj.
Thank you so much for having me here, Ali.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. So before we get started, tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Me? Well, that's a 2-hour conversation, so...
Well, listen.
Okay, I'll try and get into it. So, my grandfather was one of the first Indians in Northern Ireland. He came over in 1951.
Lovely.
And my father came over at the time. India and Pakistan got separated, so they came over in the boat, which took many weeks. And I grew up in Northern Ireland during the 70s and 80s, which is very, very different to what it is now.
Yes.
And growing up was kind of boring. There was nothing to do. There was no internet. There was nothing to do. You couldn't connect with the world. We had 4 TV channels and the world was
I remember those days. I remember those days. Yeah, you had to get up to turn the telly over.
Oh God, and the telly was like this size as well.
Yeah,
remember?
That's right.
And yeah, so nothing really to do. And I wanted some excitement and some adventure in my life. So I made the decision not to go to university and in fact to come to London. Wow. To find my fortune, because unfortunately when I was young, I believed the route to happiness was through wealth, which of course it's not. But you're young, you're naive, you get caught up in the hype.
You do.
And that's what I did. And I came to London and spent a lot of years struggling, being broke, living on the dole. It was pretty rough and very isolating. And at 22, I finally did what most messed up, screwed up people do. I got a job working in sales, and that was it. And that was it. And I kind of started off at the very, very bottom. Spent years at the bottom, and slowly worked my way to middle management, and then worked my way to the top. Yes. And then work my way to being self-employed, which I am now. So yeah.
Fantastic. So what is it that you do now?
Me? Well, I help people and businesses generate results. That's the best way of putting it. And I do that because I'm a sales coach and a sales trainer. Lovely. But I do sales techniques which aren't sleazy. They're not aggressive. They're not forceful. And they always have 100% integrity. And that's really, really important.
Okay.
Not just because of how the business world and the sales world has changed, but just because that's what I believe in. I see so many people teaching, 20 ways to close and how to sell ice to the Eskimos. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you can sell anything to anyone. I really don't. And I believe integrity plays a bigger part in sales than people realize. And that's what I do. I do sales with integrity.
Because we've all had that awful experience. I can remember vividly having a double glazing salesman come round to the house, and I couldn't get him to leave, and it was just the weirdest experience, where he was so determined almost to grind me down. And it really puts people off, doesn't it? When you talk about sales, there can be this kind of a little bit of like, oh no, please don't try and sell to me. And so you approach it quite differently.
I do. People, they don't want to be sold to, but they want to buy. And you do that. What I teach is how to engage with customers, how to talk to customers, the right kind of language to use, and also the right questions to ask, because ultimately it's a conversation. And the way most salespeople go wrong, especially car salespeople who get probably the biggest criticism, is all they do is talk about their product, and they don't talk about the customer.
Right.
I went and bought a car 7 months ago with my wife, and the car salesman kept talking to me. And I said to him twice, my wife's involved. My wife was paying for the car. But I kept saying this to him, we're both involved in the decision. And he kept talking to me.
Right.
And this happens all the time in sales. People are so obsessed about getting what they want.
Yes.
They forget to ask the customer what they want. And they forget to show any interest at all.
Absolutely. So you've already given us kind of an oversight of one big change that you made in your life when you decided not to go to uni, to come over to London, and go through that lifestyle. But what would you say was your defining reconnection moment?
The defining moment was in 2010 for me. I'd worked my way up to middle management, and I was doing quite well at the Guardian newspaper group. I was running their conferences and exhibitions division with quite a lot of success. And because I was doing things a lot of salespeople didn't do, like pick up the phone and work longer hours and took work home with me. I didn't do the standard 35-hour week. That's all I did in those days. It was just extra hard work, extra grind. I wasn't more intelligent than anybody else. I wasn't smarter. I just worked harder. That was it. Because back in those days, that's all you needed. Now you need a lot more than that. And what had happened was the Guardian wanted to save money. So they got rid of me and got rid of a lot of the top performers and replaced us with graduates.
Okay.
And that was quite a shock to my ego.
Yeah.
But worst of all, I was out of work for 3 months and we almost lost our home and I couldn't pay the bills. And I went to every job interview very angry with this big chip on my shoulder. Like, I used to be great and look how they treated me. And it was just, there's no saying life isn't what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And I reacted really badly and I became very angry and I had a midlife crisis. And all the cliches you know about men going through a midlife crisis, apart from getting a red sports car, every cliche.
Did you get one of those?
I couldn't afford one, but I would have. I had the money, I can assure you. But it was a bad place I was in. But I got quite lucky because I've seen people go through dangerous paths in life and never recover and turn to alcohol and drugs and really mess things up. Absolutely. I got quite lucky because my wife owns a beauty salon. So all her clients are women, mainly over the age of 35, 40. So they've had husbands go through this. Right. So they're able to advise her, look, your husband's depressed. He's going through a midlife crisis. So she saw it very quickly. My daughter saw it and they helped me out. It took them about 5 or 6 months. And one day as I was recovering, I was in W.H. Smith's and I went to go to the self-help section and it was full of middle-aged women in cardigans and sandals. And I felt so embarrassed to go to the self-help section. So I rushed back downstairs to get power. Complete intimidation. I thought, oh my God, I can't be here. So I rushed back downstairs to go read my rock magazines, which I love. And on the way, there was a magazine called Success. And it was about how to improve your life. And I thought, well, I need this. And inside there were people like John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, all these greats talking about how to improve yourself. And I'm reading it and I'm kind of welling up with emotion. It's like, I'm 100% responsible for my life. Really? Because I've always blamed other people, you know. And
tough love moment there coming in. It's all your fault.
All my fault.
All your fault.
I mean, everybody else, but it was my fault. But it was such an important moment in my life because I realized to be successful, you got to invest in yourself. You got to read. I took pride in the fact I hadn't read a book in 20 years. And most people do that. They leave school and think, I'm never reading ever again.
And yet I have to say, the first thing that Niraj did when he came into the therapy room was go and peruse the mini library at the back there. So that's obviously a big turnaround.
It is. I mean, 20 years ago, we've been looking at the CD collection, which I still like, but ultimately it's the books you read. It's not the CDs you have, it's or the DVDs you have. It's how do you learn, how do you grow? That fascinates me and has done so since 2011 when I started to get better and better and better. And then since then, my life has just changed dramatically because I got way more success than I imagined in the next 5 years since, but I became a better person. And that's probably just as important. It's not about having the success. It's about who you become when you achieve the success. That's something I never thought of when I was younger. And if I had success in my early 20s, I really would be a mess. I wouldn't have been able to handle it at all.
It's a couple of really good points you've raised there. Firstly, I think, to be accepting as a man of needing support and help is a huge thing to reach out. So it is much more commonplace for women to be looking at the self-help books, following particular people. The magazines are always full of it. There's whole magazines now, Mindfulness, Breathe, Simple Life. They're aimed predominantly at a female audience and they're all about improving your mindset and improving positivity. There still really isn't anything out there which is in that line of work that is aimed at a male audience, and it is a bit different. You want something a bit different. You want a bit of a different message, but also to be able to feel comfortable enough to actually, firstly, be accepting that you need help and support, and secondly, where to find help that meets what you need as well. It's complex.
It is, but also women are very, very good at this, and I see so many women I'm connected to online going to events where they support each other. And I really admire that. Men just aren't that good, and it's hard finding them. I'm starting to slowly connect with men who are in a similar position, but we're just not very good in general at reaching out for help, whereas women are fantastic at it. They're very good at forming those strong bonds. And men not as much. It tends to be about football and drinking. It has to be more superficial conversation.
But that's very much about how you know, there's been a lot of conversation on this, you know, in the press recently. It's very much about the culture and the society and how we bring our boys up, you know, and there has been a lot of, you know, man up and just, you know, don't show your feelings, and it's all very kind of backslapping, you know, and you don't often see that sharing and that real conversation going on, because that's just not how you're shown that it needs to be. And hopefully now, you know, things are progressing. We'll see future generations finding that a bit easier, but I still think it's very ingrained in the way that we raise our children. And
absolutely,
our boys.
100%. I'm starting to slowly meet a few more men now who are starting to kind of go through that and talk openly about things. I always have to be the one who brings it up first, because they never will. But you know, keeping things close. But sometimes it's really good to share these problems. And I always say that certainly in terms of management and leadership, you know, vulnerability and kindness are two of the greatest qualities you can have, because it makes you human and it makes you likable. And that's something, again, I learned on my journey back up again from failure, is that I always led by kindness, and I never led by yelling or shouting, because it doesn't achieve anything. And, you know, that says a lot. I see so many managers yelling. So many managers I see threatening people. Do this or you'll lose your job. Do this or else. And that doesn't work. But so many of them do that because they don't know any better. It
gives them very short term, you know, somebody might comply very short term because of fear or worry, but it doesn't engage, does it? It doesn't bring that long term commitment, and they will go somewhere else when they get the opportunity. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us here on the Reconnection Space. So how can people find out more about you, and how can they get in touch?
Oh, sure. Number of ways. If you go to everybodyworksinsales.com, or drop me an email, niraj@everybodyworksinsales.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I write articles every few weeks on sales and business. It's all free, and the articles get a lot of engagement, and people have told me how much value they find from it. So just connect with me on LinkedIn. That's no problem at all.
And the other thing we haven't mentioned, and we really must mention, and it's not in my library, so I do have to apologise, is you're a best-selling author.
Yes, I am.
So you have a book that people can buy as well and learn more about what's going on.
It's in my bag. By the time I reach for it, it'll disappear me for a second. So I'll just tell you about it.
Tell us about it.
Everybody works in sales, because every single person works in sales. But most people don't know how to sell, or they don't like selling. And most sales books and business books have got a lot of stats and figures and graphs. And research shows people connect with storytelling 5 times more than they do with stats and figures. So what I did was I created my autobiography of growing up in Belfast, having an arranged marriage, the years I spent struggling, and how I started off at the bottom, worked my way up, and then lost my job in the recession, and worked my way up even higher. And really the journey I've been on, and because it's a journey of massive failure, success, and authenticity, it's my story. It's quite unique. So there's no other sales books like this out there. And in each chapter, you learn something that helps you in your business.
Fabulous.
And I think that's why it's been quite successful. And also, I didn't think about this at the time. It's only 160 pages. And when it came out, I panicked thinking, oh, this is such a small book. But people have appreciated that because people are so busy.
They are. Absolutely. Absolutely. People want real value, and they want it easily digestible, don't they? So I think that's perfect. So thank you so much once again.
That's a pleasure, Ali.
We hope that you've enjoyed this recent episode here on the Reconnection Space. If you have and you've clicked like, why not also click on the all-important subscribe? And that means that you will never miss an episode of the Reconnection Space. And we have got some amazing guests lined up for future weeks. And if you have a story that you think people would love to hear about a reconnection moment in your life, why not drop us a note, because we're always looking for new people to come and join us here. And if you have any questions at all, why not go onto my webpage, www.bemore.uk, drop me a note there and have a look at what's going on in the world of Be More. We'll see you again next time in the Reconnection Space. Take care. Bye-bye.